it did give me some help.
Well, congrats to you, and we're glad to see you back. And that's a good story. We like to hear that. You know, Scott and I have been planting seeds to kind of grow a garden, and sometimes the seeds grow and then they stop and then they develop and grow some more and come back and whatever. That's how it works. The more people we get, the more the word will spread. And is there anybody else who's relatively new or brand new to the classes or returning? And how'd you find out about them?
Hi.
Hi, it's David.
Yes, I am returning after a long time off, and it's good to get back.
What do you want me to do?
There's an echo, but
Yeah, the echo is probably because you have your phone on and your computer. Maybe
Yeah.
you're trying to get on two sites at once.
I know, you're right, Charlie.
Okay, that comes from doing this for a while. But so
I don't know if I have to raise my hand.
is that Diane?
Yes, and I came last time with David, and so now we're on two separate computers,
Oh, I
laptops.
see. That was a little feedback maybe, huh? Well,
Yeah.
welcome to both of you. How did you find out about the class again?
I found out through David, and I don't know how he found out, but he shared that with me.
Oh, good. David, thank you. Now, how'd you find out, David?
Well, it was quite a while ago. I think it was Monica Frank turned me on to this some time ago. I don't know if she's still attending. I know it's been over a year since I attended the last session with you guys, and I retired as a PA in the interim, and getting back on the saddle and getting into the groove now.
Great. Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have only been to one class, but it's been a long time. And I heard about you guys through Bosch Nutrition.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
They're really good people. And I think if you have kidney disease or diabetes or overweight, they have a program that is paid for by insurance. So we encourage people to follow with their program also, because we're kind of talking about the same kind of issues. And it's just one program kind of gets paid for and the other. Well, that brings me to a point. Are you all getting your money's worth from this program of ours here? Seeing how we don't charge anything, I hope you feel that way, that it's worth your time and the effort that you spend, since there is no charge. For those of you who are new or unaware of that. Anybody else have any thoughts that they want to share with the group? All right. Well, last week you heard from Scott Wagnon and his journey toward a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. And he shared with you a number of resources about the website and the other issues. Some of the participants may have been scared away. But those of you who have returned, our goal is to help you find a path that will lead to health, so you don't have to be taking a bunch of pills, so you don't have disability your last years on this planet, that you're feeling healthy, and you square the curve, as Scott talked about at the last session, where you live a healthy existence until the point when you don't, and you don't have to suffer the last number of years of your life. I'll wait for one more minute. I'm gonna just see if there's any questions, and then I'll go ahead and get started and share my story with you. But
And for
Go ahead.
anybody that, oh yeah, and this is to say anyone that missed last week, the recording is up on the website. So if you go to livelifestylemedicine.com, our class website, on the homepage, you can click on the website tutorial, and that gives you a tour of where everything is on the website. And then you'll see class archives in that tour, and you'll see where the class is from last week. So if you missed it, you can go back and watch it anytime.
so I'm just looking around to see if there are any, boy, it seems like there's a bunch of new names. But perhaps not. I guess we want to also remind you all in this group about the Facebook page. There's a Facebook page. Let's say I need to kind of mute the room here for a moment because we're hearing some background noise. Ryan, do you want to? Yeah, I see your hand is up. Go ahead and share away.
Yeah, my wife wanted me to ask you, do you think the Lifeline screening program is very good?
Lifeline screening? I don't know what the Lifeline screening program actually is. Do you, Scott?
No, I'm assuming it's some sort of biometric screening with,
Yeah,
but I'm not,
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with it specifically.
yeah, they do the, I basically use a Doppler to scan over you. But anyway, they check your vessels and your different arteries to see how things are flowing.
Okay.
It's advertised on TV a lot lately.
Yeah, so let me give you my take about screening kinds of studies. You know, screening studies in my mind are helpful if you're trying to maybe motivate a person who is not motivated to make changes in their life. There is no one, in my opinion, that could not benefit by changing their diet to actually eating only healthy foods. That's not particularly what we do in this country. We eat a lot of unhealthy choices. And if you are eating healthy, if you are moving throughout the day, you don't lead a sedentary life, if you're avoiding harmful chemicals like smoking and too much drinking and of alcohol or other chemicals, and if you have a good take on how to manage stress in your life, that's going to go a long way toward giving you your best life. Now, whether you go in and you get a cholesterol level drawn, or you go in and you get a calcium score on a chest CT, you get the radiation from that, which they've decreased quite a bit, but you're still getting some radiation, which could lead to particularly possibly starting a cancer cell in development. I'm not convinced that those are really going to bring better health to you or to anyone else, unless it motivates them to make the changes where they begin making only healthy choices for themselves. So, yeah, if you're like, hey, my doctor says my blood pressure's good and I'm feeling fine and I don't want to do anything different. I don't think I need to do anything different. I'm going to wait for another 10 or 20 years and see if I develop any disease. Then maybe doing the screening tests would be valuable. But if you've made the decision that you're going to do something to maximize your health, I'm not convinced that those make a huge difference in your life. I have seen people who have 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot on the banana peel with their chest pain because of their clogged arteries. And they've been taken, put into a study, placed on a totally whole food, plant-based diet like Esselstyn's study, and reversed their disease and lived. They didn't need a surgical procedure. They didn't need any fancy medicines. They just needed to change their choices of what they were eating. So that's a long answer to a short question, which I don't know what they're screening for, but I'm not a big fan of doing screening on anyone unless they're resistant to thinking about maybe I could do something to improve my health here.
It was pretty non-invasive for the most part. They just scanned over your vessels and stuff just to see how things flowed and if you had any blocked arteries or whatever.
Yeah, so if you have blocked arteries, what are you going to do? Are you going to change what you're doing?
You have
Or
to.
you get it, or on the downside of that, you know, if you don't say, well, I'm not going to change my diet or lifestyle, like, so let's just say you had a carotid artery ultrasound and it showed blockages, you know, more than 75% blockage in one or both of your carotid arteries. That would entice most people to, okay, now I'm going to go get a carotid endarterectomy. I'm going to go clean it out. And so that, yeah, you might unclog that particular vessel for that moment in time. It's a band-aid, but you're not treating the underlying cause of the disease, which is the coronary artery disease, the atherosclerosis. So if you have clogged arteries in your carotid arteries, you have them everywhere in your body. So if we sometimes call that disease mongering. So they kind of screen people because, oh yeah, you have a clogged artery, we can fix that. It's like, well, yeah, you can maybe fix it that little moment in time, but the studies show that doesn't reduce your risk of dying from a heart attack or a stroke. So it doesn't actually improve your health in any way, and it doesn't prevent you from dying. It's like, oh yeah, let's unclog that because it's clogged. And so, more and more studies that are being done are showing that that's the case. It doesn't actually prolong your life in any way, and it just makes you go in for a procedure. But if, like Charlie said, if you say, hey, look at that, means I have blocked vessels in my body, I should change my diet and lifestyle, then that would be a segue into or a launch pad into better health. Then maybe it's worth it. But if it's just going to make you, oh, I'm good now because they unclogged that artery, I'm going to keep eating my cheeseburgers and bacon and eggs and not make any changes, then that didn't do you any favors. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
And I might add,
Go
I
ahead.
think you've read my story where I did go for screening in 2014. And because I had a 0% calcium scan, even though I knew I needed to change my lifestyle, it led to 1 more year of procrastination. So
there you go. A screening exam that led you not to take the path to better health. We don't want that for you. We want you taking the path to better health. And you may be surprised, but if you stick with the classes, you'll learn a little bit about mammography, how it doesn't necessarily prolong someone's life as a whole. You'll learn, you may have read and studied about how prostate cancer screening is now a very debatable issue, and many people are recommending not doing PSA testing, although for a while there was a huge push on that. Even getting away from routine physical exam screenings, because sometimes the complications associated with those screenings with the additional testing does not lead you to health necessarily. What leads you to health, I hope you learn from these classes, is the lifestyle changes, the healthy lifestyle changes that you make for yourself personally, that you are in control, that it's not your doctor or provider, healthcare provider, that controls your health. You ultimately have the ability to control your health. Marcia.
Yeah, I heard on the news yesterday, I believe, that they want to start doing surgery on obese kids.
That really ticked me off, Marcia. You
Yeah.
know it would. I was so upset I could hardly see straight. And I brought that up this afternoon with the class. that, you know, the industry influence, pharmaceuticals and the meat, dairy and egg industry have such an influence that they're able to kind of alter people's perception and minds about what the causes are. And so it's okay to give a 12-year-old this drug to help them with obesity, the drug that costs what, $13,000 a year, which most people can't afford, or it's okay to schedule them for a bypass without any significant discussion about how, if they would change their diet, which they're likely going to have to do even if they lost the weight with the pills and with the surgery, or they're going to go right back to where they were because they didn't treat the root cause. Unfortunately, the American Academy of Pediatrics has been influenced and came out with those guidelines. Very saddened by it, and I hope they get changed over time.
Yeah, my thought was change the diet.
Well, you've come to a few classes, you understand it, and kudos to you. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Charlie, do you think the mother has a responsibility how to feed their kids?
They have a responsibility, but if their culture is educating them in a way that they don't really understand, how do you hold them responsible for not feeding their kids adequately when I have to plug in, sorry, somehow I got electrical.
Yeah, so
Was dying on my computer. So if the mother or, you know, parent doesn't get adequate education, which they don't in our culture, then are we going to put them in prison for that? I don't think so. I think we need to change our culture, and we're doing that one class at a time. One healthcare provider, one person at a time.
I wonder if it would be a good idea to have a school subject on that, so they learn it early.
A wonderful idea. The problem is we need to convince the principal, who is part of the culture, and they're not so interested in doing something different. They have tight budgets, this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, they have 1,001 excuses. Unless the principal happens to come to these classes and understands the benefit, then they do it on their own. They say, hey, I don't want my kids suffering.
then there's the school district, and then there's the FDA who basically decides what kids eat in the school lunches, and that's all political too, and you know, influenced by industry, and so it goes all the way up. So that's why we try to get it. You can't. There is efforts being made to go top down through politics and whatnot. You know, PCRM, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, is doing a lot of work there, but you know, it seems pretty daunting task to go that direction. But it is happening. But what Charlie and I are trying to do is kind of the more grassroots. Every one of you guys that come to class, you educate your friends, your family, your medical provider. We educate medical providers. We're educating medical students, PA students. We're trying to get it, the culture changed, get it in the information out there. And so how you guys can be helpful is to spread the message and bring friends and family to these classes and go to the events that we put on with Eugene Plant-Based Providers. And there's lots of opportunity to be involved.
Marsha.
You know, the big guy always wins around here. That's the problem.
Well, we're taking on the big guy, whether it's David and Goliath or however you want to look at it. We're not intimidated. We're going to keep at this. Go ahead, Marsha.
I was going to say, I think the bigger problem is when you have a nutritionist come in and they're supposed to know everything about nutrition. And then they say, oh yeah, you can have a Pepsi, you can have a piece of steak, you can have that. So you have to know who your nutritionist is. And it's daunting. I mean, I went to a diabetes class with my husband who has diabetes, and they said, oh yeah, you can have meat, you can have just in proportion. Oh gosh, gee. No, they talk about the saturated fat and the cholesterol that's in all meat, dairy, and oil. No.
And that's why we talk about this. It's really important. Who do you trust? How do you find resources that you trust and value? Ryan?
Yeah, my wife off camera here has a question for you.
Yeah.
Um,
go for it.
So I have heard that providers, when they go to school, that they don't actually do a whole lot of education on nutrition. And then,
We have effectively zero. We might have a couple hours on what a vitamin does and vitamin deficiency. Not only medical doctors and osteopathic physicians, but nurse practitioners and physician assistants. And it is changing some. Like at our medical school, we have a course on nutrition and medicine, but it's voluntary. It's not part of the curriculum, and it's only once a month. So there is some change, but by and large, most of the people you run into these days will not have had any nutrition education. You're right. What's the next part?
the next part is, I ordered the book that you guys recommend online, the cookbook, and I noticed they recommend, like, if you're going to do anything with sweet, using date juice. But then I've seen other things where they recommend maple, like a maple syrup. Is there like a difference in level of badness there? Or is it? I mean, I'm just curious the thoughts there.
Yeah, so dates seem to be the most natural form, and maybe they have a bit more fiber connected with them than maple syrup.
That's what I thought, but I didn't know. I wanted to ask. Okay.
And Dr. McDougall is one of our mentors who was kind of, what would you say, father of nutrition for us, one of the first mentors, and he came up with the maple syrup kind of as a, you know, he said in order to get people to eat something, you got to give them a little sugar or whatever it is, or they're not going to change their diet. And then Greger came along, I think, with the date concept that they seem to have a bit more fiber and be a healthier substitute. But if you use either one in very small quantities, you're probably okay. You don't want to use major quantities, make them your main food. You want to use it maybe as a taste occasionally.
Okay, thanks. That makes sense.
Okay. You have anything to add to that, Scott?
I was just going to comment on the earlier comment about, you know, when you get advice from a nutritionist or a dietitian, that you have to realize that their education has been influenced by industry as well. Just like my education, Dr. Ross's education has been influenced by the pharmaceutical company. So when we came out of medical school, and for me, PA school, you know, everything was heavily biased towards drugs and surgery and all that, because that's how we're trained. And that's, you know, where, you know, the pharmaceuticals companies have a big influence on our education. Whereas I have many friends that are dietitians, including we have like 4 or 5 dietitians in our Eugene plant-based provider group. And they always talk about how they go to their continuing education conferences, and the dairy industry has all kinds of literature there, and they're serving meat and dairy and stuff in the, you know, at the conferences. But what's exciting is that some of the most popular lectures at those big nutrition conferences are about plant-based nutrition. So because they're realizing, hey, you know, this is this is the more pure science is to eat this more whole food plant-centered diet. We shouldn't be telling our clients to eat meat and dairy and Pepsi and all that, but you know, that our culture is what's normal in our culture. So they're trying to stay in business, right? So it is ultimately a business, but we're supposed to be following the science, and the science is pretty clear on what's we need to do for the best health.
I have a couple more questions. One of them is recommendations for fasting. You know, if you're eating a transition to a whole food plant-based diet, you probably don't need to fast for the majority of people. If you're having trouble and not getting the benefits you want, there may be some benefit in fasting. We'll go over that in another class. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this first class with it. And then the next question is, do you have an opinion on value of lung cancer screening? My opinion is, if you've been a relatively long-term smoker, that getting lung screening is probably a reasonable thing to do. If you pick up an early lung nodule, maybe you could remove it and prevent its spread, but that may not be the case because it takes many, many years many, many months and years for cancer to grow, and it's usually at a later stage by the time you can actually pick it up. So I don't know that it really makes a difference in your overall longevity. I think what would make a difference is stop smoking. You know, do whatever you can to stop yourself from smoking or those around you who you love from continuing to smoke as soon as you possibly can. And don't depend on screening because it is going to pick things up late, just like mammography picks things up late. As it turns out, colon cancer screening may pick up things early, which before they actually become cancers, they're precancers with colon cancer screening. So that's one screening test that may have value, in my opinion. Scott, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I think you summed it up well.
Can I say something really quick?
Velvet, go ahead.
I work in a pulmonary clinic, and so I was part of getting the lung cancer screening started. So I do think there is value in it, and I do think screening is like significant, but I know you guys are the doctors, I'm not. But I have seen patients catch lung cancer screening earlier, and I think, or lung cancer earlier, and it can be life-saving. So, you know, if you're approved for the program, that means you've been a long-term smoker, so you probably should do that.
Okay, well, thanks for your opinion. We appreciate it. And, you know, you all get to make up your decisions as to what you choose to do. And as the years tick by, I'm sure it'll be more and more refined. And if I hadn't seen the data on mammography and hadn't seen the data on PSA testing for prostate cancer, that's going about, I'd probably have a different opinion on lung cancer screening at this time. Anybody else? I'm having way too much fun here with you all, but I want to start and tell you my story, share that with you. I'm going to share my screen and then we'll get back and hopefully we have some time for questions. We're starting a little later on in the program, so we may have to wait till next week, but perhaps not. And I'm going to come back over here to my desktop if I can get onto my desktop. I've got so many little boxes and things to check that I got to get that over and out of the way. And let me put this up and let me make sure you can all see this. Can you see my screen at all?
Yep.
All right, good deal. And then I need to get over here to the slideshow and from the beginning. And so here we go. So the talk could be how food affects your health, or it could be lifestyle medicine, changing how healthcare is delivered. That's my ultimate goal. And the disclosure statement is I have no financial interest from any issue discussed in the session. I don't own stock in anything that would make a difference here about what we're talking about. And I have no financial interest in any of these. We're just sharing these sessions for you so that you can regain health. Now, one of the reasons I do this is because for my first 35 years as a physician, I pushed a lot of pills. And this is sort of, you know, my patients didn't really get better. I managed things and I thought I was doing a good job of trying to control based upon what I had learned in school. And I found out I was wrong. And I'm going to share that with you as Sanjay Gupta, who changed my life. And I'll tell you about that in a moment. When I changed my life and I began practicing medicine in a different fashion, I wouldn't say I was overwhelmed initially, but over the years, I've felt overwhelmed and rewarded by the inspiring stories. Now, I don't know if you can see these. I hope you can. These are cards and letters. And then I have a stack of emails that I printed out. These are thank you notes from people whose lives have been changed because of the information. We've been sharing science with people, letting them make up their own mind as whether they choose to do something different with their life or whether they don't. And these stories are inspiring, reversing diabetes, getting off of all diabetic medicines, getting off of high blood pressure medicines, getting rid of anxiety medicines, pain medicines. There were 3 people whose erectile dysfunction just completely cleared and they had normal sexual functioning after a period of about 4 to 6 months. Renal function, just returning from stage 3 kidney disease to a normal renal function. Arthritis pain clearing, so many benefits to what we're promoting in these classes. So because these testimonials are so inspiring, it's payment for what we do. And we're excited to continue on with these classes to help those of you who have an interest in this. So I ask you a few questions. Why would you want to come to a class like this? Why do you eat what you eat? How much research have you done to determine what your healthiest choices are? Are you just eating food because that's what your parents and your grandparents ate and because you like it? I must tell you, your taste buds change and you can learn to like new foods. And if someone had told me 11 years ago when I started this, you'll love what you're eating, your taste buds will change, you won't be taking any pills at 74 years of age. And I would have told them, you're nuts. There's no way I would like eating something more than the ice cream I was eating every night, the cheeseburger I was eating, the French fries, the pizza. Those were what I considered good food at 11 years ago. But I love what I'm eating now, and I don't touch those things anymore. And the next question is, does what you eat really make a difference for your health? I've just kind of gone over that. But for years, I used to believe it was my genes or my patient's genes that determine their health. Well, that's about 20% of your health, but 80% is your lifestyle choices. And you know, what you eat, how you move, the chemicals you choose, and how you deal with stress are really going to bring you health or bring you disease. And what is the deal with this whole food plant-based stuff? Some of you may have a question about that. What does that entail? How am I going to cook like that? Why would I want to do it? And one of the other questions we may cover is, aren't citrus foods like lemons and limes and oranges, aren't they bad for your teeth? Don't they promote cavities? And we'll discuss that hopefully at some point in the future. But first, I want to share my story with you. I did not want to do this. I really didn't. I was happy with my life. And then along about 11 years ago, Sanjay Gupta did a program in which he reviewed a study at the Cleveland Clinic, which is documented in this book. I hope you can see it. I can't see whether you can see it or not, but it's How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease by Caldwell Esselstyn. So in this book, he took end-stage heart patients, patients who had their bypasses, their stents. They were on the maximum medical therapy, and they kept having another heart attack, another bypass, another stent. 5 of these people were told, hey, look, this is by their cardiologist. We're sorry, but no matter what we do, there's not anything more we can do for you. You better get your affairs in order, because you likely are not going to live the year out. Well, Dr. Esselstyn took these people, put them on a totally whole food, plant-based diet. And after 12 years, they were all alive. Not only were they all alive, no further heart attacks, bypasses, or stents. They were healthy people. They reversed their heart disease. There were 35% of them who showed unclogging of their coronary arteries by angiogram after 1 to 3 years. It was totally amazing. How did he keep them on track? Dr. Esselstyn met with them every 2 weeks and reviewed what they were eating and told them, you know, these are healthy choices. The ones you're eating are not healthy. You need to transition over to these. And people listened to him because he cared about their health, and they cared enough to do something different. There was one guy, however, who did have another bypass after 6 years. He was a guy who said, I feel so good after 6 years, I'm going to go back and eat how I used to eat. And he wound up having another bypass. It's the food that he was eating that led to his cardiovascular disease. And this is happening at younger and younger ages. In our country, by the age of 10, people who are in accidents, kids who are killed in accidents, when the autopsies are done, it shows they have the changes of hardening of the arteries, atherosclerosis, starting at age 10. That's because of the food. So if you have children, you have relatives who are in a young age, and you want them to be healthy, you may seriously consider listening to a few more of these classes. But I'm going to continue on with my story about why I chose to do this. I listened to this with my wife in a special. It was a special by Sanjay Gupta, the neurologist or neurosurgeon who has become kind of a journalist guy. And we listened to it, and my wife looked over at me and said, do you think we should do this? And let me tell you, there wasn't a cell in my body that wanted to do this. I wanted to keep eating how I was eating. I liked what I was eating. And besides, what's the sense of living if you can't enjoy the food you eat? That was my first thought. No, I don't want to do it. And then there was a little voice on my shoulder which spoke out. Charlie, you know, your wife's dad died of his first heart attack at age 41. He didn't have a second chance. Charlie, you know, your wife's mother, she was in her late 50s, early 60s when she had her bypass, heart bypass. And you know, your wife's brother, he's 58 with his first heart attack and bypass. Your wife is now 62. She is next in line, older than they are. Do you want to get a new wife? That's the voice. I didn't have to think a long time. I had to think long enough to get myself out of a bind. The bind was, I didn't want to do this, but I didn't want to lose my wife. So I thought, and I looked over and I said, yeah, we can do this. And I thought to myself, I'll do this for 1 month. If she's feeling good and things are working out, she can keep doing it. And I'm going to go back and eat how I used to eat. That's it. That's my thought process throughout this whole beginning. So what did we do? Since I agreed to do it, we watched this video together. It's called Forks Over Knives. It was on Netflix. It was free and it's available to any of you. We read through this book, How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, and half the book is recipes. So it was only like 120 or 30 pages. Very short read. I did it in a day. And we set out on our new lifestyle. We pulled out every processed food. We pulled out every meat, dairy, and egg product. We put them in boxes and we gave it to our kids. They thought it was Christmas. We had a refrigerator stocked with meat. I don't know if we bought a quarter of a cow or what, but we had a lot of meat in our refrigerator, our freezer in our garage. And once we emptied our shelves, we went out to the store. We bought a whole bunch of different greens I'd never even heard about, arugula and chard. I wouldn't know chard from kale, from collard greens back then, or arugula. I had no clue, but my wife bought them. She went online and bought about 15 different types of beans, of as many, I don't know, 8 different kinds of lentils, different types of whole grains. And we set out on our new lifestyle. Well, the first month, guess what? The first month I was not hungry for one day. I was always full because when you're eating plants, you're eating a lot of bulk. So it fills you up and you're not feeling hungry. Well, I didn't feel hungry for one of those days, the next 30, and my weight dropped 10 pounds. I was 40 pounds heavier. I feel great now, 40 pounds lighter, not having to take any pills. And let me tell you, I had tried taking pills before because my cholesterol level had been at about 240 was my average. And I tried taking several different statins. They all gave me diarrhea, some so bad that I had to change my clothes at work where I worked in the emergency department. So I said, I can't take statins. So I'm going to try niacin. So I took niacin and it gave me such burning on my scalp that I swore I'd rather die than to take another one of those tablets. And the lowest I got my cholesterol with those medications was 210. Well, at the end of 30 days, after doing totally whole plant foods, no animal products whatsoever, my cholesterol level dropped to 148. I was so happy, I kind of like jumped up and down. I was like, I can't believe this, 148. And then several months later was down to 135. I was just like, wow. I'd like the same for you. It doesn't happen to everybody quite that dramatically, but for me it did. And for several others I've interacted with over the years, it has. And so if it doesn't work for you, there are other kind of tweaks that you might choose to do, and we'll go over those with you and try to guide you along what we've learned over the years. Anyway, that's why I do this. I never look back. I did talk to Dr. Esselstyn and talked to him and pleaded with him about why can't I eat egg whites or why can't I eat skim milk? I need the protein. And he told me, Charlie, when have you diagnosed anyone with protein deficiency in your practice in the last 35 years? And I said, never. He said, stop counting the protein. You're not protein deficient. That's not the deficiency we have in our diet. We have a society with affluence, too much fat, too much salt, too much sugar, not enough fiber. Here's my wife. We were in Italy together. I'm 74, she's 73 now. This was about almost 2 years ago that we went to Italy together. And she has no evidence of heart disease, by the way. The reason why I chose to do this in the first place, and the reason why we both continue on to do this for our health, to be an example for our children, and to be an example for others. Scott went over these lifestyle medicine issues with you, the various things, so I'm not going to spend time on that. But I do want to bring your attention to focusing your attention on healthy issues. And I don't know how many of you are aware of the AMA, the American Medical Association resolution for all United States hospitals. And this was as of June 21, 2017. So we're now going on 6 years ago, this came out. The American Medical Association called upon all US hospitals to improve the health of patients, staff, and visitors by providing a variety of healthy food, including plant-based meals, meals that are low in fat, sodium, and added sugars, eliminating processed meats from the menus, and promoting healthful beverages, not the sweetened beverages that you see in all the machines that are in the hospitals today. Now, there are other societies that understand the benefits of whole plant food eating. The American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists is one, the American Diabetes Association, American Institute for Cancer Research, And then the dietary guidelines in these countries, Canada, Brazil, Germany, Qatar, Netherlands, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden, they all recommend a more plant-based diet for human health and for environmental sustainability. We mentioned the 4 things, the root causes of disease, but they can also bring you health if you make healthy choices. So let's talk about the problem. The problem is our life expectancy is about, I don't know, 4 years less than the nearest industrialized country to us. And we spend twice as much money. So we live a lesser life expectancy and we spend twice as much. That doesn't make sense. 7 to 8 out of 10 people with chronic illness might not have to suffer from these diseases should they choose to make different lifestyle choices. I've talked about a number of them. I don't know if I mentioned cancer and autoimmune disorders and GI issues, but I talked about the others briefly, and we will talk about them more. So why has this happened? And I want to get right to the source. Our food sources have been altered, and that's because of the side effects of processing our foods. Let's take a look at how our diet, our foods have changed from 1900 to the year 2000. In the year 1900, the statistics show the average amount of sugar per person is 5 pounds of sugar per person per year in the United States. Look at what it was in 2010. It was 77 pounds per year. And now guess what it is now? It's closer to 100 pounds per person per year. Now let's look at the oils and fats. They've gone from 4 pounds per year to 74 pounds per year. Look at the cheese, 2 pounds to 30 pounds. And look at the fruit and vegetables that we used to grow in our gardens. We used to grow on the average in our gardens 130 pounds per year per person. We don't do that anymore. We depend on the food companies to give us these foods up here instead of eating the fruits and vegetables that we used to eat. And then let's look at the soft drinks. We've gone from none to 53 gallons per person per year. I don't drink any. So someone's drinking over 100 gallons per year. And you know that's true because you look in the market and you can see the cans stacked up for people. And then look at the fiber. The average American today is eating 14, 15 grams of fiber. What did we eat back in 1900? 60, 80, upwards of 100 grams per day. That fiber indicates how many plant foods we're eating. Fiber only comes from plants. It comes from no animal product. So we get a lot of questions. People ask us, so where do you get your protein? You know, these people may have high blood pressure, they're on diabetic pills, they're on cholesterol lowering medicine, they're taking a fistful of pills and they're concerned about where do you get your protein? This is a cultural thing. It doesn't really make sense. If it wasn't a cultural thing, they'd be saying, well, if you're feeling so good and you're getting toward your ideal body weight because of what you're eating, how can I get off of my pills? That's what they might be saying instead. Now, let's look at the protein issue. We are going to look down at the bottom of this chart. We're going to take equal parts of plant foods and equal parts of animal foods, and we're going to compare what's in 500 calories of plants, which is, let's say, tomatoes, spinach, lima beans, peas, and potatoes. Put them 500 calories worth of them versus 500 calories of beef, pork, chicken, and whole milk. And what are we going to find? We are going to find, let me pull this down so you can see it. Plant foods versus animal foods. You're going to see there's no cholesterol in plant foods. There is 4 grams of fat in plant foods, 500 calories of plant food, and 36 grams of fat. So there's more fat, but this should surprise you here. The amount of protein is identical. 500 calories of animal products fits in the palm of your hand. 500 calories of plant food is probably more like a small volleyball in size. It really fills you up. But if you're eating 500 calories of plants, you're getting the same amount of protein as you get in 500 calories of animal products. The problem is because the bulk of animal products is so little, you don't tend to get full, so you tend to eat more. So you get twice as much protein, which is hard on your kidneys, twice as many calories, which is hard on maintaining your weight. And look at the minerals and vitamins. You get so much less. Look at the difference between beta carotene in plant versus animal, the vitamin C in plant versus animal, the folate, the vitamin E, the iron, the magnesium, the calcium, and the fiber. Fiber in plants, none in the animal products. I hope this is helping you to focus your attention on why we're so passionate about you looking at the science and potentially making some different food choices in your life to get health that you're not now experiencing. Okay, I'm going to stop in just a minute or two. The standard American diet, it's sad. I used to be a standard American doctor eating the standard American diet. But the reason I stopped is because of the side effects, the heart attack side effects. That was my reason. Yours might be different. Now, I was at Valley River Center here locally at one of the malls back a few Halloweens ago, and there was this sign that said toxic wings, burgers, and fries. And I thought there's a Halloween gag now open in the food court. And then I went over, and sure enough, there is a food company, the toxic wings, burgers, and fries. My dad always used to tell me the truth is often said in jest. Well, this is truthful. Those wings, burgers, and fries, they are toxic. And you'll learn about that more if you stick with these classes. Does it really matter what you eat? And what does the science show? So we talked briefly about genes, how we used to think genes were the major determinant of our health. But we've now since learned that the genes need to be turned on. It's like you load a gun with a bullet, but it doesn't go anywhere until you pull the trigger. Well, what pulls the trigger for our health is the foods we eat, how we exercise, the chemicals we choose, and how we deal with stress. There are several of these others which we'll get into with other lectures, but in the interest of time, maybe I'm going to skip over that and go right to the heart of the matter. And what's the heart of the matter? It's like having clogged arteries, which lead to heart attacks and lead to congestive heart failure and a poor quality of life or an early death. This is an artery that Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn had, one of his patients had. See how narrowed that artery is? This is an artery opened up after 1 to 3 years of a whole food plant-based diet. That's not a stent, it's not a bypass, it's food that allowed the body to heal, unclog itself, and get back to normal. I believe you'd probably want that if you or one of your family members had heart disease. There are the blue zones. Stop mentioning these. The place where people live the longest in the world, there's 5 of those areas. They have things in common. They eat legumes, they have good social engagement, they have constant moderate physical activity, no smoking, good family support, and a plant-based diet. Focus on that for a moment. Wow, why aren't we doing that? I don't like to fight, but let me tell you, I wouldn't mind have a body that looked like these guys. And these guys only eat plants. Carl Williams, the Williams sisters, only eat plants. Now, I don't like the term vegan because you can be a junk food vegan, eating a lot of fried foods and a lot of oil in your foods and processing, sugars. Oreo cookies could be considered vegan. I'm talking about whole plant foods. Foods as they're grown in nature is what are going to be healthy choices. Football players, the Tennessee Titan team went plant-based, along with other players who do really well. They don't need animal products for their health. And here's a couple people who look a little anorexic, but they are ultra marathoners. This guy here, Rich Roll, did 5 Ironman competitions in 1 week on 5 different Hawaiian islands. That is a grueling test to do 1, but to do 5 in a week, unheard of. All he eats is plants. Scott Jurek, he holds the record for miles run in 24 hours. 168 miles in, or 67 or 8, I can't remember, in 24 hours. A marathon is 26.2 miles. He did 167 or 8 miles in 24 hours. All he eats is plants. He gets enough protein. There are some meat-specific toxins, which we will go over with you at some point, should you be interested. But what these toxins lead to, they lead to damage to your genes, plaque formation in your arteries. They're highly inflammatory. They can lead to cancer, either promotion of cancer cells or even cells becoming cancerous. These are substances which we really didn't know about 15, 20 years ago. No one ever talked about these in the medical profession that I'm aware of. Low diets are a fad. You'll see a lot of people who say, I've lost weight, low carb diet, a paleo, keto, that's what's important for me. And that's brought me health. Well, I'm going to discuss that with you for a moment. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I want to look at you when to see you. I see the room now, and I want to ask you a question. I want to know how confused you are. The first question is this. Can we all agree that no matter what diet you choose, the message you have received in our culture is eat more fruit and vegetables? Everybody, yes or no? Eat more fruit and vegetables. We all agree to that. What is the other message that we have all heard and we all subscribe to, unless we've been listening to the science? What is the message that we received about carbohydrates?
Oh my gosh.
Enemy or friend?
Enemy.
Enemy. Absolutely. Carbohydrates, the enemy.
Not
What does
so.
that lead people to do? If you don't eat carbohydrates, what do you eat? You eat protein or you eat fat. Where does that come from? Animals. Let me ask you, what are fruits and vegetables that we just decided were so healthy?
Carbohydrates.
Carbohydrate. How can we not be confused since we keep getting these messages? Eat carbohydrates, don't eat carbohydrates. There is no way we could possibly be comfortable with what we're choosing to eat unless we actually give some serious thought to the difference between carbohydrates that are found in nature in their whole state, they're complex carbohydrates, versus the simple carbohydrates, which are the refined carbohydrates, the sugars, the white flour, the refined oils. All those refined, I mean, oils are not carbohydrates, but anything that's processed is stripping away the fiber and nutrients. So I hope you learn one thing tonight from these classes, that you've probably been confused. It hasn't made logical sense to you to eat more fruit and vegetable because you're told you shouldn't be eating carbohydrate. And in the sense of it, you know that that's what fruit and vegetables are. I tried to silence the room by getting all excited. Have I succeeded? Sort of. I'm stopping now because I want to see if you have a few questions. I'll go on. You know, I could go on into infinity. At least Scott knows I could. You can't stop me once I get started. And so I have to stop myself.
Hey, Ken knows too.
Yeah. Okay. So Ryan, let's hear it.
Is avocado oil considered a processed food?
Yes. It does not grow on trees. So the avocado itself, if you want some avocado, eat a little bit of avocado, maybe a quarter. But be careful, if you're eating a bunch of nuts, leave the avocado on the side because it's a really high calorie density food. And the people who tell me I'm eating plant-based, I'm eating avocado and I'm eating nuts and I'm not eating any of these other foods, if they look at what the calorie density is, they find there are so many calories in one avocado, they don't realize they're getting half of their day's calorie intake in one avocado. 750 calories in a day, or in a moderate sized, a pound of avocado. I know you don't want to hear that because you're used to eating that avocado oil. And I know, okay. Any oil, same issue. Go
I
ahead.
have a question. I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Getting to the calories part, I'm doing pretty well at eating the plant-based, and I've got my recipes. I haven't succeeded yet in getting going on things like bulgur and quinoa and stuff like that. But how does one determine how many calories we're actually getting? I have no clue on how many calories I'm eating.
So what you need, you know, people survived in concentration camps on about 800 calories a day. Most strict weight loss diets usually put people on a 1,200 calorie diet, maybe 1,500 calorie, depending on their size. So you could get by just fine on 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day, most people. If you're really doing a lot of exercise and burning up a lot of calories, you may need 2,000. If you're a weightlifter, you may need 3,000 or 4,000 calories a day. But for most people, think about 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day as being, especially if you're trying to lose weight. If you're getting higher than that, it may be a little difficult to lose weight. And I'm not encouraging you to look at and try to count calories. I'd rather have you focus on just what food groups you're going to eat and about the proportions that you're going to eat them in. And with that said, I want to go back and I want to share with you, let's see, I want to get off of this, a chart. Let's see, I need to go over to my drive, my thumb drive. And
while Charlie's doing that, I'll just mention that the reason he said we don't want you to count calories is because even an experienced dietitian is off by 30 to 40% when estimating calorie intake. It's such a really difficult thing to do. And so it's not a good way to go. It's better to just focus on what foods you're choosing to eat that Charlie will show you right here.
So the foods that we're trying to eat are, if you eat under the green line, you're going to be eating non-starchy vegetables of any kind. That's what? Kale and cauliflower and carrots and radishes. And you're going to eat fruit of any kind. They're about 300 calories a pound. You're going to eat unrefined complex carbohydrates, whole grains, legumes, and potatoes. So the legumes are what? Beans and lentils, pretty much, chickpeas. The whole grains are going to be oatmeal, bulgur or quinoa or kamut or any of those different grains. The potatoes are a healthy choice, even though many of you have been told don't eat potatoes. It's not the potato that's a problem. It's the sour cream, the bacon bits, and the butter that you put in the potato that makes a 70-calorie potato a 350-calorie bomb. And so stick under the green, eat about a third of each of those categories. And if you're not getting enough, if you're hungry still, then take some more from each of those categories until you stop being hungry and you don't have to count your calories. Now look at avocados over here. They're high calorie density foods. So are nuts and seeds, nut butters and peanuts. They're healthy. These are healthy choices, but if you're trying to lose weight, they're going to potentially be a barrier. So go very light on these. Measure out a quarter cup of nuts, measure out a quarter of an avocado, and stop there. Don't be adding other oils or fats into your diet. If you just stuck on this side of under the green line, you'd be getting about 10% of your calories in fat. And that would be ideal. Okay, any other questions? Then look at oils over here. You see how many calories they are? 4,000 calories a pound, most calorie dense food on the planet. Scott's going to go over this again with you, so don't worry about missing anything here. You're going to have plenty of opportunity to see this over and over again, pretty much. I'm ready for another question if you have.
I have one.
Okay, Susan.
I was just wondering, you were talking about avocados and nuts and peanut butter, stuff like that, for if a person is watching his or her weight. I'm not watching my weight, but so I can probably eat too much still, though, of nuts and avocados and things like that, right? What do you think
of
of that?
If your weight is maintaining and you're otherwise healthy and your cholesterol level's good and you're fine, you eat what you want to eat. Don't make it difficult on yourself. Don't worry. It's okay to eat a little bit more. I'm sure that Rich Roll, he's exercising a lot. These marathon people, they're eating a ton of nuts and seeds and avocados because they need the calories in their lifestyle. So if your lifestyle is such that you're maintaining your weight and you're otherwise healthy, you don't have any health problems, no diabetes, no high blood pressure, no pills, and you're happy, keep doing it.
Okay, all right.
Don't worry.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. That's good. I'm glad you said that.
Okay, you know, the goals is we are all a bit different. We all have kind of different needs and our bodies react in slightly different ways. And some of us can have a little more of something than others. We try not to compare.
Yeah.
We try to individualize this for each of you. And that reminds me, we do have med students who's interested and happy to counsel anybody who's struggling with anything. Just send us your information, give us your phone number, phone contact. We'll get in touch with you and try to buff you up over whatever number of sessions you need. And there's no charge. We don't charge anything.
Wow.
And I put the sign up for Lisa Chick, the medical student that does the free one-on-one health coaching. I put her link to her scheduler on the up on the class newsletter. So if you haven't signed up for the weekly class newsletter, the link is on the homepage of the livelifestylemedicine.com website, and you can sign up there. And I always just, since we have some new people here, if you're not signed up yet, as soon as you sign up, you will receive a welcome email right away, and then you'll get an email every Sunday morning for the classes. And if you don't get any of those emails or even miss any at any point, definitely check your junk file, because it often goes to people's junk files. So check there.
Okay. Let's see, someone asked, they have a small vessel. If someone's diagnosed with a little vessel going to their brain that is restricted, is that something that dietary changes can help? It depends on what the restriction is all about. You know, if the restriction is due to clogging from atherosclerosis, potentially yes. If the restriction is due to some scarring from a trauma or whatever it might be, I don't know the answer to that. You know, I just, it probably is due to atherosclerosis changes, and it potentially could help, but I don't know. Kayeri.
Hi, Charlie. So I have, let me see if I can get this right. Sinus bradycardia with a left, so the left ventricle is scarred, it's thickened. And so it doesn't pump enough blood.
Right.
So is it doing a plant-based diet, is that ever able to help that?
Well, you have an ejection fraction of some sort. Is it 35 or 40 or?
Okay, it got down to 32, and then
Okay.
I had a pacemaker, and now it's about 45.
45 is a pretty good ejection fraction. And so I would say a plant-based diet will prevent, hopefully, the complications that could occur, which would be congestive heart failure over time. Why would you get congestive heart failure? If your heart was having to pump against high blood pressure, eating a plant-based diet is going to bring your pressure down as low as it can go. If you're eating a lot of dark green leafies, you're going to be adding nitric oxide, you're going to relax your arteries, so you're going to have less elevation of your blood pressure, which will be helpful. You're not going to be adding a bunch of salt because you're not eating processed foods. So the salt is another reason why it would raise your blood pressure. And so in terms of your collateral circulation, maybe your arteries will open up a little bit and you'll have a little bit more collateral circulation that develops. I don't know that it will improve the dilated chamber that you have right now, but it's the best thing that you can do to prevent further deterioration. And you can live a normal, active life with what you have right now.
It brings an example that Dean Ornish, Dr. Dean Ornish, who also reverses heart disease with a plant-based diet, well-renowned researcher, he had on his lectures, he often shows a patient that he had that was an internal medicine physician, and he had so much damage to his heart. His ejection fraction was below 20. It was really low. He needed a heart transplant. And he went on a 100% whole food plant-based diet, and he ended up not needing a heart transplant because it improved his heart condition so much. But I don't know the ins and outs of what his overall heart condition was. It sounds like it's different than yours, but just an example. He had his testimonial, and he's living a normal life now.
Yeah, because I can only walk about 30 minutes and then I'm completely exhausted. So I'm not living a normal life right now.
Well, I think that it would be my suggestion for you to go 100% totally whole plant foods as grown in nature, and continue to exercise and continue to try to push that a little bit gradually. You know, when you're not able to exercise for a while, your muscles get a little weak. And so you need to use it or you lose it, so to speak. Doesn't mean you've lost it forever. It means you You just need the rehabilitation, rehabilitate your self back to greater exercise tolerance. And you get your best recovery through whole plant foods, eating more berries, like blueberries, dark cherries. Those sorts of foods are high in antioxidants. They combine with free radicals, decrease inflammation, and there have been some studies on athletic performance, which is improved. Recovery times are improved, so that would give you your best chance.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Who else?
I have a question.
Yes,
I had
Charlie.
2 big bags full of cranberries that I got at Costco. I ground them up with a meat grinder, but then because they're so sour and I couldn't take them, I put honey over it. Is that detrimental now with the honey?
It depends on how much honey you're talking about. If you took the whole honey nest and you put it on top of that, it probably wouldn't be a healthy choice. If you're eating maybe a teaspoon of honey for the whole day, then I couldn't argue with that. That's probably not enough to make a difference in your overall health. But if you're eating a lot more honey than that, I would look for some other choices. Potentially use date sugar.
Oh, okay. I thought honey would be good. It would be, what do you call it? Like prevent a lot of disease,
Some people like to use honey and they claim that they have less allergy symptoms with it if they're eating honey from the area that they're in. And I can't argue with that. I just don't know what the facts are on that issue. And so someone might want to give an argument if they're having some allergic kind of condition and they use a little bit more honey. Scott, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, nothing more than what you said already.
Okay.
What
Who
is date sugar?
Date sugar, it's just dates that have been just kind of crushed up and ground up and dehydrated a bit. So it's the whole date, but you're not stripping out the fiber or other nutrients from it.
Thank you.
So for smoothies, if you decide to eat, like, hey, I want to do some smoothies in my life, you take a handful of greens, a handful of fruit, some plant-based milk, put a banana in it, grind it all up, and you taste it. You say, ooh, I don't like the taste of that kale, or I don't like the taste of that dark green leafy in there. Then add about 2 to 4 dates, whole dates without the seed. Just grind it all up, and pretty soon that's like, oh man, this tastes pretty good. I like it. I can drink my greens, but drink them slowly, because when you bust that up, it releases the sugar, the glucose, away from its fiber, and so it's absorbed more rapidly. So drink a smoothie over about 25 to 30 minutes as if you're chewing the food. That's a tip from Dr. Greger. All right. Anybody else have anything that they have any questions on?
Where can you get date sugar?
I haven't bought any lately. My wife bought some sometime, but I'm sure it's in any market, Whole Foods or wherever. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Sundance has it in bulk.
Okay.
You can get it at natural grocers or Whole Foods, but it's expensive.
Okay.
Market of Choice has it in bulk.
And
Okay.
I get it from Amazon. And also I looked, and I can't remember where I found it, but I found this online. There's also a cranberry salsa recipe out there. You mix other whole foods with your cranberries or your other whatever that's too hard to handle, and you can make a really nice, yummy stuff.
I love that suggestion. Thank you.
Charlie, I have another question.
Yes, Donna, and then Ryan. Donna, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
Okay, sorry. Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen suggests on the whole grains pasta. And I had bought chickpea pasta, but I would not consider that a whole grain.
It's not.
Yeah. So what? So chickpea pasta doesn't really count as a carbohydrate.
It's
No.
better, it's a better choice than an animal product, but it's not the healthiest choice as a plant.
Okay. I
So
got
if
it for my celiac daughter-in-law.
Yeah,
But
so
it's still in my pantry, so I thought I would cook it, but
if you want to eat it as an occasional food, it's probably okay. It's just I wouldn't make it as a regular staple.
okay. Okay.
It doesn't
Thank
really
you.
bad.
How about Ryan? I'm gonna mute. Okay, there you go. Ryan, go ahead.
Oh, I had my hand down.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Who else?
Well, it's, where am I? My hand.
Okay. Susan first, then Marcia.
Oh, it seems to me chickpea pasta is garbanzo beans. So what's wrong with that?
So whenever you're chopping foods up and you're processing them, you're kind of, they get absorbed more quickly and, you know, it's just not quite as healthy a form, but it's probably okay, you know, to eat occasionally.
Okay.
That's my thought. Some people who like pasta, you want to be careful about, you know, eating some other foods that are whole foods, you know, a variety of different foods for your microbiome. We'll be talking about the microbiome, the bacteria in your colon at one of these upcoming lectures, and you want to have a variety of that. So, you know,
So pasta.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Scott.
so pasta would be, you know, what we consider a yo-like food, kind of in the same category as the nuts and the seeds and the avocados, because it's, like Charlie said, it's processed, but it's so if you're already a healthy weight, you don't have any health problems, you're actually trying to get a few more calories in, it's an okay choice. But yeah, if you're trying to lose weight, you know, it's not super high. Pasta is actually about 600 calories a pound, so it's kind of you know, it's a little bit less than avocados, because if you think about it, it sucks up a lot of water. So a lot of the weight is water, which is why it's a little bit lower in calorie density than something like avocados or, you know, nuts and seeds are like 2,800 calories a pound, whereas pasta is only 600 calories a pound. So, but it'd still be something, you know, you want to have more vegetables with it, you know, maybe like a tomato-based marinara, and then that would be okay. But if you're trying to lose weight, you might want to have more vegetables, less pasta, as an example, because of the higher calorie density of the pasta.
Marcia? Go ahead, unmute. You're getting closer. But there you go.
Well, yeah, my daughter bought some Danza Rutini, and it's made from chickpeas. It really doesn't taste all that bad, but again, it's something you don't want to have a lot of.
Okay.
That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Charlie.
Yes, Arun.
Yeah, last time I asked you about, you know, oatmeal. I think it was whole oatmeal.
Yes.
And well, we went and got some whole oatmeal, and the difference is tremendous. We love the whole oatmeal versus quick oatmeal. So nowadays I'm just soaking it overnight. So it takes only 2 or 3 minutes in the morning to make it. And then I add some cashews and sunflowers and pumpkin seeds to it.
Okay.
No salt, no sugar. It's just perfect. So I thank you.
Is that the whole rolled oats, or is that the groats with the
rolled oats?
Rolled oats. Okay. You know, I ate that for many, many years and we've kind of, we eat that still occasionally and it's really a healthy choice. It's got a lot of soluble fiber, so it'll lower cholesterol.
Yeah.
There's also another choice for some people who say, I just won't eat any oatmeal. I don't like the texture. To go to something like Groats. Groats has a fibrous covering over the oat itself. It's not stripped off. And I think Scott's had an opportunity to try it here too. What do you think?
Yeah, I've totally switched now. I mean, I still occasionally eat the rolled oats, but yeah, you got me on the oat groats, and I cook them in the Instapot, a whole batch for the week, and I love that for breakfast. It's great. I put on, raisins and some cinnamon and the oat milk and blueberries, and it's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, next time I'll do that. But I want to also say that we got barley, and barley works out probably 3 or 4 times better than brown rice for us. So we're happy with barley.
Barley is a wonderful choice, and you don't have the arsenic with barley that you have with some rices, particularly those that are not from California.
Okay.
Okay, Ken, thank you, Aaron.
Welcome.
So
Thank you.
a lot of rices from Arkansas in the upper Mississippi Delta. Is that put there by the chemicals they use, or just the disturbance in the soil that brings the arsenic up to the ground?
It was the arsenic they used in the, I don't know, fertilizers or pesticides or whatever in the grounds in the South.
I've got another thing. So I've been doing this a year and a half, and I get pretty excited about the things I've learned, and especially things like how to really read labels. I spend a lot of time in grocery stores reading labels and comparing different nutrients to each other using the factors, the ratios you guys have taught us. And then it gets sucked into discussions and you get shut down really fast, and it gets really tough. It's really frustrating. So just a quick example. So I'm with somebody this weekend and he's got diabetes, and he made the comment, I don't have to worry about sugar, I have to worry about carbs. And I just said, hey, there's a really easy way to determine how to eat carbs and how many. And he said, I don't care. I'm on 2 diabetes medicines now. I'm losing a little weight, and I'm my numbers are where I want them. So he's fine with just taking pills, but he's only 42 years old. I mean, how long does he think? I don't know. It just get frustrating. So just get ready. You get shut down really fast. And for me, somebody that likes to talk, that's kind of painful sometimes. I just get shut down and shut up.
Yeah, so that's happened to me a few times too, Ken.
But imagine it's
about
more than
that, but
you. You've been doing this a long time.
yeah, just keep at it. Don't take it personal.
Hey,
Go ahead.
before it gets too late, I wanted to introduce everyone because there's so many new people here. We didn't get a chance last week, but this week, want to introduce you to Dr. Eric Colgrove. He's comes to the classes quite frequently, and he's one of the leaders in our group here. And I just wanted him to introduce himself so you guys can know who he is. And he's on the website, and his contact information is on the website. And if he could introduce himself, say a few words, Eric.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get my on the chat. There it goes. I just put the my email in the chat. If anybody has questions, I'm a pediatrician that works with the Oregon Medical Group, and so basically, I like to help out with any questions people have about pediatric issues with whole food, plant-based eating, or lifestyle medicine. Yeah, so if you've got any questions, I'm available. You can always text me. I can get back to you there. I have a clinic in Westmoreland, which is on 17th and Chambers. So you're always welcome to come see me in person there too. But certainly you can just email me at my personal email I put on there. So I look forward to hearing more from y'all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Eric.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any good last words or another question? We'll take one or two and then we'll call it quits till next week.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead,
This is
Diane.
Diane, and I'm asking it for a friend, for
Okay.
David, having issues with getting on. Is it better to eat vegetables that are cooked or raw?
However you eat them, that's how it's best.
Okay.
Some people
However you eat
say-
the most.
Yeah, some people say that having half and half is a good strategy. But the really important thing is just eat them. If you like them cooked, then eat them cooked. If you like them raw, eat them raw, and not to worry about it.
And one other quick question that's mine. What about these sour cream alternatives and alternative cheese products that are made out of soy or almonds? What is your opinion on those? I picked some up at Trader Joe's today.
Yeah, they're highly processed. They're fun for transitioning because, okay, I'm doing this plant-based diet. And so if it helps you to make the transition, that's great. But in the long run, what is really going to be healthy for you is going to be whole foods as they're grown in nature. And you'll learn to make a few of your own special sauces and treats. Scott has some stuff on the websites about that. We experimented with some of those and it's fun to learn about them and to taste them. The maybe Impossible Burger and the this and the that. Try them out, see what they're like, but don't depend on them for your health, your best health.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Use them for fun and treats. Lisa.
Hello, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself again. I'm the med student that was referred to earlier. I'm in my third year in osteopathic medical school in Pomona in California. That's why I have some fun letters after my name right now. And I wanted to remind you all, if you signed up for the book club, that we have our first optional preliminary meeting in 2 days on Thursday at 7. We're reading the Mayo Clinic Guide to Stress-Free Living. And if you haven't signed up, you can still email me. We're not really talking about the book this Thursday. It's more to get to know everyone, see how people are doing with getting the book, and make sure you're all set up with Zoom and everything too. So if you're interested, like I said, email me. I should already be in the chat. And then you can also contact me for any one-on-one health coaching. And I'd be happy to talk with you more.
Thank you, Lisa. She's a real gem and has helped a lot to continue to promote the classes. And I don't know how many people do you have in the book club so far? Who signed?
I keep getting a few every day. So right now we're about 27.
Wow, that's wonderful. Should be great. We'll see you there.
Are you going to send out a link to the people on the email list for the Thursday class?
Yes, everyone that's contacted me or filled out the survey from a while ago should have gotten an email with the link.
I don't know.
Except for you, Scott and Dr.
Yeah.
I don't think
I have
I
you
know.
guys
Send us
separate.
the link.
Let me send it to you again.
Yeah, I want the
My
link.
bad.
Oh, that's great. All right. Anybody else have anything they care to share before we hit the road until next week? It's been fun being with you all and sharing a bit.
I have a hard time keeping something to myself.
Okay, Ken.
Okay, I understand what you're saying about screening. and I don't want to talk long about this, but screening for prostate cancer and the biopsy that followed saved my life. There's no doubt about it. And so men, the Cancer Society has changed their stance. And I urge all men, if you don't already have a commitment, to surveil this situation about the prostate. You should just go to the American Cancer Society and see what they recommend. But it, to me, it's a matter of life and death, and it's completely changed my life. And it hasn't really been a lot of fun, but it's been interesting. It helped get me to this. It helped get me to this way of life. Thank you.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Ken. Who else? I think we've given most everybody a chance to speak up. And let's see. Can you get the document that was mentioned last week?
I already got that.
Oh, you got
Just
it?
Yeah, just email me. You have to email me if you need the plant-based quick start guide. Just send me an email at soscott@aol.com. I can send it to you.
I have a question. Is whole wheat bread, is that bad for you?
No.
No, it's it doesn't grow on a tree, the bread. It is a processed food. So it's one of those yellow light foods that Scott talks about, that, if you're getting the health benefits you want and you have a slice of bread or two every so often, that's probably okay. But if you're not getting the benefits you want, if you're still on pills or you're not getting the weight loss, then we'd encourage you to consider some other choice, healthier choice.
One quick question. If we eat breadfruit, like the one that hangs on the tree,
yes,
would that be a good substitute?
Yeah, breadfruit would be a good substitute. I love that. Yeah, breadfruit grows on trees. It is a healthy food.
Thank you.
Pretty cute. I like it. Scott, I don't know if we can have much more fun.
Yeah, it's great. Love it.
Good to see you all, and we look forward to having you all next week and into the future. And we'll be seeing you, many of you, on Thursday evening with Lisa's group.
And we'll start meal planning next week. Did you get through enough of your introduction, Charlie, or do you need more time?
Yeah, no, we're good.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Everybody,
Thank you.
till the next time.
Thank you.
Night. Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Thank you.